And really, because it's Ken Clark, Peter Wayne, we're looking for increased vertical forces. And so like he said last night, how else are you going to decrease that contact time and improve your vertical force in anything that you do in the weight room? And if we're looking for, as Cal talks about, some kind of hormonal change or neural change, this is the best way that I have found to do it. And so you might say, well, what about all the other problems? I've had distance runners on it, and Mike Kennedy can vouch for me here that because it happens fast from a neurologic standpoint, their body had to run perfectly. So the way we do it is I set up mini hurdles in my driveway, and I pull them down the driveway, and they have to be perfect. And what's Dakota's last name?
Getty. Yeah, Dakota Getty.
All-state, 4x8 all-state guy.
Yep. And then both of my sons did it.
And both of his sons did it. We completely changed their gait by doing the overspeed stuff through mini hurdles. And I'm not saying I pulled them at 11.24 meters per second. They weren't going nearly that fast. But just the idea that things are happening faster, you have to be perfect. And if you go back 10 years ago to the guy who invented the IT machine, what was his name? Davidson? Steve Davidson. Yeah, the inertial trainer. So this guy, Steve Davidson, he's out of business now, came up with this inertial training machine where you worked in a gravity-free zone through movements. And because it happened so fast that your body accepted the perfect movement and it changed how you moved, he's about 50 years ahead of his time because idiots like me were not very specific about how you can just go up and jerk it around like this. My shoulder hurts all of a sudden. What's going on here? It's because the overspeed had such a neural impact on your body that it forced change. And so with the overspeed, not only have we worked on increasing this vertical force and quicker contact times, but it changes running form, running mechanics really quick. Yeah?
Those of us that don't have a 1080, what do you suggest?
Thank you. I paid you for that segue, didn't I? So here's some other things that you can do. We do overspeed training with a dog chase. She's 120 pounds. That's Thunderdome, the trampoline. If you go in there, you know you're going to get attacked. I have a bigger one. That's my son.
How much did it cost you?
It's $20 a trick. So I get him to run blindfolded and do all kinds of things, and he gets $20. But he's important in research for stuff that I can't do to other people's children. The dog pull. That's his safety goggles and his safety hat there. And he wears an Iron Man shirt. He'll get beat up for that now because he's going into high school still wearing an Iron Man shirt. So here's some toe pops. And I'm towing you with a rubber band. Glenn does awesome stuff with rubber bands with his athletes. I showed that last year. He daisy chains rubber bands together. And so guys, it's not that you have to pull 11 or 12 meters per second. In the running drills, it's just enough where your body thinks it's going faster than it should, and it's going to cause the tightening of the muscles if we're looking at coach contractions and tying that in with the stumble reflex. So you don't need the 1080 sprint. You certainly can't have my dogs. Or you can raise the ground. So your body has the sense that things are going to change on the ground, and if it comes sooner, just like the stumble reflex, it's going to tighten sooner. So I'm going to raise the ground so your body gets used to pre-tensing faster, so when you hit the ground, you have a better co-contraction in the ankle. So these mats here are from Wheaton College when they were carving up their track. And they were changing their track. I went out there with my X-Acto knife and I carved out pieces of mat for myself. I actually carved out a full 40-meter section to go down my whole driveway. But then when our house burnt down, I had to build that one. The stupid work people came with their stupid tractor and chopped up all my mat into little pieces. So this is all I have left. It's quite a story, isn't it? So this girl, she's actually a All-American softball player at Northwestern. There she is running through, and I'm towing her through. Or you can just have mats without getting towed through. And I know that sounds like a little minor thing, but it's actually huge. Franz is big on the mats, isn't he? I blew it off for a number of years, and then I started doing it religiously, and it had a huge impact on how well my kids run. Foot contacts.
And he's also on changes during the training. So
Yeah.
we have a different height of mats, like 3 different heights, plus the ground itself. And each and every run, we change the setup, so the athletes never know what's going to be.
That's right. So you can get, thank you for Bartlett High School for pulling up their stuff, because Eric Kramer went and pulled up all their flooring, so I got new mats, and I can get different heights. But the flops are 1.5 and 2 inches. Those work pretty well. These are nice too because they're softer, so you're having a different texture on the ground. So while you're thinking the ground's going to be hard, it's kind of soft, which again is going to cause that ankle to co-contract. So basically, I just find garbage and throw it in my driveway and make you run over it. That's what I do.
Do you have a certain distance between the mats, or just kind of randomly?
So because it gets frustrating if you throw mats out and people run through, you say, damn, he missed them all again. We're going to be here all night. He keeps missing them. You move around and miss them again. I put them in between my mini hurdles. That way I can guarantee that you're going to hit the mat. Which is why if you go back to this one here, I'll play it again. I know she's going to hit him. So find garbage, put it out there, and run through it.
Was that every other foot, Chris, that you said?
So if I'm short on time, I'll do every third, so I know I'll get a right foot and a left foot and a right foot and left foot, so I know I'll get 4 contacts in my driveway. But if I have more time, I'll go every other one. Or if I'm feeling crazy, I'll put different heights all over the place so it's constantly different. But that's not something I throw at you right away. That's something down the road quite a ways. So once it's absorbed, it needs a direction. So we've got that strength to hold it. It hits, it co-contracts. Now we have to guide where that energy goes. And that's where ankle rocker comes in. How many people have seen me do ankle rocker before? How many people have not? I'll be quick. Ankle rocker is the ability for when your foot to hit the ground, your shin will guide all that force in a direction. So you hit the ground, here's your foot, here's your shin, it hits, there has to be a give. It may be 1 degree, but there has to be a give to give that force somewhere to go. The problem is, most people can't break that 90 degrees once they're on the ground. In fact, you'll see some people who can't even get close to 90. They're here. So the body is then tasked with the problem of getting that center of mass to move forward. And so what happens is you have to cheat your way to get that center of mass to move forward. So this is going to explain just about every bad running form that you have on your teams. You have people who turn their feet in. How many people have seen that kid, especially girls, where they look like they're on some kind of unicycle when they're running and they're coming down this way? They're probably coming off the side of their foot because their ankle won't bend. Here's the kid who bows everything out and pushes off the side of his foot. I guarantee when he goes up on his toes, he's on the outside of his foot too. Here's the bouncy kid. How many people know this kid? And you always think, I want that dude on my team. You do. He applies good vertical force every time. The problem is his cheat pattern is to bounce his center of mass up over that ankle when he runs, and it puts an enormous strain on the hamstring. And so if you've got the bouncy kid, you'll pull a hamstring. This is my Spectre kid who pulled his hamstring, who was really, really good. So if you watch Marcellus Moore walk, he's slightly bouncy, but he's got a little bit of give, which is why he's been gold so far. He's got the bouncy stiffness in his ankle, but he doesn't cheat through because his shin actually bends.
kind of stops in the middle of the bounce comparing to other kids while just walking.
Yes.
I looked at him the last time I was up there at school. So.
And if you put him on the table, his ankles go back. I mean, he's got the flexible thing.
For this, you want more ankle rocker?
Absolutely. Because he's guiding his force to go like this. I want it to be straight. I want that to be as smooth as possible. Spin through the big toe. You know, the foot spins. A lot of times that's because the toes can't grab. But again, you're creating all this rotational force as you're moving down the track. The distance runner anterior tilt, where it may look good like his knee is underneath his glute at toe off, but what you're missing here is the anterior pelvic tilt here, where he's actually moving his weight forward by going like this. I'm stepping here and here and here. And you can tell by the stripe on his short. See how it's almost starting to curve that way? So if we look at that from here, go, yeah, that's pretty good. We don't need to mess with that. But you go there like, he's tilting the wrong way. We got to fix that. That's his cheat pattern. The running the tightrope people. You can see the claps. We've all seen this a million times. I want you to throw weight forward. That's this guy. The juggernaut type thing. And here's good. That's Chris. This is Chris Brown. I've used this picture 1,000 times. He world record hold in the indoor 400 meter for a number of years. But you can see the ankle bend how, as the weight comes past and he's getting to toe off, his ankle is still bent and all that energy is transferred forward. There's no cheat pattern anywhere. He's as smooth as they come. Even when he accelerates, you can see that. So how are we going to fix that? We'll do one real quick together. This is the best one. I'll go right to the best one. I like to do these barefoot. I'm not asking you to take your shoes off, but the reason why we do that is I want you, when you stand on your single leg, I want your toes to come up off the ground. So toes never touch the ground when you're doing single leg squats. Why? Because we're strengthening the arches in your feet to hold position. And when you pick up your toes can't help anymore. A lot of times people's toes help in how their foot works. We don't want that. We want the arches of the foot to do their job. And once you're up in that position, in all indoor season, after we do our isometric heel ankle stuff, we do single leg squats. Toes are up. You're in a glass tube, and you're just going to drop down. I'm trying to get my shin to split my big toe and my second toe as I go down. I'm keeping balance on my foot. You'll be amazed at the number of people who can't balance if you take their toes away. But yet, when your foot hits the ground, that just becomes what you're doing in a single leg balance is a slowing down version of what actually happens when your foot hits the ground in 1/10 of a second. We want that to be as stable as possible, which again helps that stiffness and quickness off the ground. You don't have to search and hunt for where you're going to push from. And once you go through ankle rocker, you go to forefoot rocker and what we call toe off. Have you ever seen someone walk that's missing their big toe? I had a student who was mowing the yard. You know where this is going. And he was on a hill, and he's doing this up and down. Whoopsie-doo. Slipped on the wet grass. Foot goes under. Thunk.
Oh, fuck.
Lost his big toe and second toe. Unfortunate for him, but great for me because now I could check things out and we say, hey, do me a favor. Take your shoes off and walk down the hallway. I want to see something. Come on, just do it real quick. Okay. And when you take away that toe, it changes your whole gait pattern. I mean, you go on YouTube and watch people walk that are missing big toes and they're working on just to get a prosthetic in there so they can kind of walk through there. It completely changes your gait. Because what our foot is designed to do is we have a receptive foot, which is what's going to gather all that energy, and as you move through, it becomes the propulsion part, where this is that MTJ that's going to knock you forward when you move. If you are missing that part where the propulsory foot, oh, by the way, here's what the actual thing looks like. That's what the energy, that's what it should look like with energy traveling through your foot as you're pushing through in 1/10 of a second. Actually, what happens with this big toe when it hits is it hitches and it becomes like this lock, like a velociraptor claw on the ground, and that actually gives you traction to pull through. The big toe is one of the most amazing things in the animal kingdom. Kind of like the thumb. A little research in 2013. If you aren't getting through your big toe, your body knows that it's pushing off the wrong way, and it's going to decrease the energy that it allows you to have. It's going to cut back on power because it doesn't want you going crazy places when you really want to go this direction. And so again, if you're missing the big toe, you're going to have people who turn up and that foot comes down. How many people have the athlete that you can hear them have one foot hit a calf, or they come back and they've spiked themselves in the back of their calves? That's because they're pushing off the side of their foot, and in their recovery they're dragging it through and dragging that spike across the back of their own calves. They're trying to trip themselves. I know I'm late on time here, sorry. So how are we going to fix it? If you're going to run, I take away your arms. If I take away your guiders, and I know I'm running down a white line or a stripe, my body knows I have to, your body's always working for its target. You've got to drive through your big toe. You have no choice if you take away your blinders and your rudders and all these other things that are going to correct you as you go down. So you'll see us go running around. We even do 23-second runs with no arms. It's hard. We're not going to set any records, but I'm driving that pattern home. Iso toe holds, we looked at those already. Single leg cleans, so all of the Franz Bosch stuff in all of his drills, I don't know where the music came from. When they're doing all their single leg cleans and all their things, he's working on that finishing pattern, trying to drive through to the big toe. So a lot of people on the internet show stuff and do stuff, and they tell you that that's what it's about, but really this is working the reflex with a drive through to the big toe. And he always has his athletes finish in that position. Single leg cleans, you can put them on all different kinds of surfaces, but that's really what he's looking to do. He's trying to tie the whole thing together and finish in a perfect position. That one he collapsed that time. Any questions? Yeah.
What about the frequency of some of the ankle stuff? Is that every day, 3 times a week? I mean,
we practice 3 times a week, so we do it 3 times a week. You could probably do it more, but I wouldn't go crazy with it. You know, I do some every day, but it can be. It's a fairly tough part of your body that's used to doing a lot of work, so you can probably do more so than you could with other body parts.
you said right behind the base of the big toe?
Yeah, so this is your big toe. I should have brought my barefoot shoes. You want to be right here.
Okay.
You don't want to go too far over because I don't want to become this guy. There's got to be a balance here. And when you get strong, you'll find out you'll see kids suddenly walk different. Shoes can mess with that too. A lot of people buy shoes that push you off away from your big toe, like Nike Freeze. If you're doing all the big toe work, but then your kids put on Nike Freeze, they're actually undoing your 15 minutes of work with their 1,000 steps with their fancy Nike Frees on with the corduroy top and whatever other crazy thing they got going on. I know that, right? That's the biggest fight I have is shoes. Coach, I really like my Nike Frees. No. So it's nice at Montini. You can't wear tennis shoes at school. They have to wear boat shoes and stuff. So it's not that bad there. Any other questions? Yeah?
Is the 4-foot rocker a different thing than the ankle rocker routine?
Say again, is the 4-foot rocker the same as the ankle rocker? The 4-foot rocker is the last part of the rocker series. So you have a heel rocker, ankle rocker, which gets that weight forward, and then the 4-foot rocker is coming up onto your big toe and propelling you through. So that's the third part of the whole gait cycle on your ankle.
Oh, so that's not like a separate routine to do or anything?
You can do it, well, we build it into everything we do. So while you're waiting in line to do your fly 10 or whatever, we have the bags or plates there and you're doing single leg cleans while you're waiting in line. So while you're waiting in line to do something, it's not just wait in line. Usually there are exercises that I have people do. Like if I know you're missing your big toe, you know you're doing single leg cleans while you're waiting in line. And we've had some pretty good changes. I mean, once your body takes over and your body realizes, hey, this is really pretty good, the change happens pretty quick. And then I get rid of single leg cleans because I don't need that drill anymore because I've accomplished my goal of that exercise. Anyone else?
What do you use for spacing, Chris, for your hurdles again? Who was the person you got?
Oh, if I'm towing you, it's usually 2.1 or 2.2 or 2.0, somewhere in there. Depends on who you are. Like I'm not going to pull a distance runner at 2.2 meters. I'll pull them at 2. But again, the longer the stride, the less immediate. Remember the spike that Ken showed on his presentation last night? The longer that stride, the less spike you're going to have. So I like to keep them kind of shorter when I'm towing you through. So you've got to get off the ground really quick. So I'm trying to force that spike that we looked at last night.
And you don't progressively make them longer, you just keep them all the same?
Yeah, I never make them progressively longer because everyone accelerates it a different way. And so I don't want to force something that their body's not ready to do. So everyone's different. I mean, if you watch people come out of the blocks, everyone's got a different cadence and stuff like that. So no, that's why I don't do that Dick's thing. I don't have a distance progression on my mini hurdles. Mini hurdles for me are a top end speed thing. We don't run over them to accelerate.
Would a good starting point be for mini hurdles for a non-track athlete? Maybe the hikes of the athlete start, 5-foot athletes start 5 foot apart, because that would account for leg length and things like that.
I never thought of that. I don't know.
You'll know it when you see it.
Yeah. If you see him strike way out in front, you know it's too long. You want to force that perfect running pattern. If you've got the right distance, you have perfect running form when you're going through.
And speed also matters. If you're, like I like to sprint through them sometimes.
Right.
And if you're really sprinting, you can widen them out.
Sure.
But then if there's a 5-yard run in,
Right.
you better keep them close.
You said you liked only about 7 or so. You don't want to overdo it. You're not trying to do it.
I like 7 because that's all I got room for.
Yeah.
I kind of go with what I got. I'm a hallway guy. I don't want to be, but that's where I'm at. And my driveway's kind of long, but you have to run out in the street, or then there's a hill, and then you get hit by a car, or you fall down the hill. So again, I'm limited by how far my driveway is. I've never tried long ones, I guess. I know when I go out to 7 or 8 or 9, I see people start to slow down. They run out of energy.
Yeah, because endurance factor becomes part of it.
So I like 7s. 7s are good. Anyone else?
You can time the runs also.
Yeah,
I try to find the spot like with the kids. So I just set up free lap and I film everything and I time every run. And I like one training session for each kid. I try to establish. I add like for children 1 inch every run. So and then I compare my free lap readings with the video recordings, and I see until which point I can still achieve better timing, and so which point it goes down, and if it matches what I see on the video. And this way I can find the sweet spot for each kid.
For those of you who can't afford a free lap, I'm one of those people.
Well, so
But you have
So,
a
so
need?
you have a smartphone camera.
That's, I was just gonna say, actually, there's a better, there's an app.
Sprint app.
Yeah.
It's actually a dog agility app.
Oh, really?
I mean,
There's
that's the
number
name
of
of it.
apps
I don't have it on this phone because I have it on my junk phones. But on the Android device, and it Bluetooths both phones. Once you pass one, it immediately goes off. I can link it on the Twitter when I find it.
Oh, that sounds good.
It's $6, so it's pretty good
Yeah,
that it's
I
done.
think it's screen timer or something for you, where you can hook up two iPhones, but it doesn't turn on or off. You can just, it's like a photo finish thing, so where you have it adjusted with the.
My Sprint, you can do the same thing, even though it's an acceleration thing. You can still get people. You can set out cones and you can clip. Okay, he hit here, and then I stop it here. It'll give you that time that they went through that beam.
And Freelap's coming out with something that, that will be cheap for people that want to do small scale sprinting, and you don't have to buy the relay anymore.
Yeah,
So all you have is this $250 chip.
And an iPad.
and the two cones. So I think the total cost would be like $600.
So they're kind of like the watch you had on your kind of thing
yeah,
before.
yes.
Right.
And it's still a chip.
All right.
You don't have to wear it on your wrist. You wear it on
You
your
don't have
belt
to buy
now.
the relay. The relay is like $400-500. And so now you don't have to buy a handheld device or the relay anymore. You buy a more expensive chip and the two cones.
You just put the cones out and you run through and it works. You don't. That's all the setup you have to do.
It's really simplified and all that, and it's brand new. So you're like somebody that's training like one or two people,
Right.
that by far the cheaper way to go.
Yep.
It's called Jumpstart. So if you have an Android device, it's actually free if you don't want to Bluetooth, but it's all based on once you go past the line, it starts.
Cool.
It's really cool. Good.
Anyone else?
I liked it.
Thanks, guys.
Really cool.